At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm doing everything I can. Now stop calling me Shirley.
The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
All right, it's another edition of Sincerely Unqualified. Today, we have one of the few good things to come out of 2020. It is Palm Springs, an Andy Samberg, Kristen Milioti movie. Very similar. I mean, people draw similarities to Groundhog's Day. We'll say in like the comedy world because we're comedy guys.
Yeah.
Similar premise. Same premise, different joke. Let me say that.
Similar premise because there's that never-ending loop.
Yeah.
But all very different in a sense of doing things. It's almost like taking a subgenre and working in a different realm than the other one. Because it's so different from Groundhog Day, but at the same time, it's very similar. And they have that overarching theme of like, okay, reliving this day, this day, this day. That one, Bill Murray's alone. Like, he's just alone in it, can't bring anybody else into it. This one, we got a few more characters roped in
rom-com,
who are incredible. I mean, it's a rom-com. It's a rom-com. I think Groundhog's Day is considered a rom-com too, just because It's very different, though, when you have both parties stuck in the time loop.
Yep. So
and a crazy person hunting him at the same time. So that's another separating factor.
Which is an awesome addition. So yeah, I think that we think it's a nice refreshing view on basically what you can call it a genre of time loop movies. But we'll get into all that. Before we get into the episode, if you could like, rate, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you could leave us a review, it would really help us out. We'd like to get those numbers up. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. We like those YouTube viewers. You know, we put together the video version. But, you know, if you're just on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you give us a rating, that'd be awesome. And before we get into it, summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? You're in luck. Our friends at Manscaped just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Complement your summer bod with a trim from the leaders in male grooming. The sun is shining and calling your name, fellas. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code UNQUALIFIED at checkout. It's time to bundle up with the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer for you nosy or your hairy noses and ears, Crop Preserver ball deodorant for your smelly balls, Crop Reviver toner to get your balls nice and fresh smelling. You can also get some boxer briefs and a travel bag to hold all that. Obviously, you can hold other stuff in that travel bag. It's great for travel. We're back on airplanes. We're back traveling. You're going to need all this stuff, and you're going to want your balls looking nice and fresh. And you're going to do that in a cheap way. You're going to get 20% off. You're going to get free shipping with the code UNQUALIFIED at checkout at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code UNQUALIFIED at manscaped.com. Escape the shrubs and weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped. Let's get into Palm Springs here. We always go Rotten Tomatoes on this. And I think that maybe we can say that we decide to look at what we want to look at or do a narrative in our own way. But we always
find a way to spin the tomato score to what we want.
Yeah, like sometimes it's like, 10%. But it does tell a lot. Like, say 10% critic, 70% audience. That means, you know what that means.
We're not very consistent in the sense, like, if this movie had 3% critic score, we'd be like, these critics don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then we go see 95, we're like, you know what, these guys are okay.
No, like they're right on the money here. No, 95 critics,
right.
88 audience. I think that what we were saying off the jump is exactly why we have these ratings. Because when you hear, okay, we're getting an Andy Samberg movie, it's time loop. Like, you think time loop and you're like, this has been done, this is not going to be good, and then you see this refreshing take on it and you see this really well-made, well-written movie, and critics are going to be on it and audiences. 88% audience for a movie, like for a premise that has been done before, is very good. Obviously, it came out, during
the worst part of 2020.
Well,
when
the worst
everybody
part
was
of most
feeling
people's,
like
lives so far.
lives, their entire lives, and seeing I don't know. I feel like, and I don't want to get too into this. I don't want to get too into the weeds. No. I'm saying it we were all kind of stuck in a loop, right? We were all stuck in our own personal loops. We were stuck inside. I'm very philosophical, man. But we were all
What
stuck
did you do during quarantine? Did you read? I was really into metaphysics, and
I was quarantining in watching this movie. I remember watching it for the first time. I was like, no way. I was legitimately in quarantine because my girlfriend had been exposed and we were quarantining together. I was like, what's this movie? Oh, Andy Samberg, let's rip it. And it was awesome, and it actually made my day so much better. So to watch it a year later is incredible.
Another thing, I was thinking about it this way. We had Tiger King, which was a pandemic. No, but what I'm saying is it marks a stamp in people's lives that I think it can take people back, because that does not live as a cultural movement if it wasn't for people being stuck in their houses. I think that this movie is good enough that it stands separate from the time period that it was in. I don't think that, obviously for you, maybe it does because you were in a legitimate quarantine. For people that were just staying at home, maybe they're like, oh yeah, that's right. It came out during 2020. So obviously it was released directly on Hulu, but because drive-ins were a bit of a thing, it actually was also released in drive-ins for people who wanted to go. It was going to be a theater movie. I don't think it was supposed to be released directly on Hulu, but I think that during that year, it really helped them out.
I think so too. I think it was a big thing where people are much more willing to try something when they're at home.
Yep.
And I mean, people probably got lucky seeing it, because this might not have been a movie that you'd say, I'm going to jump into the theater and go see this, especially if you're not an Andy Samberg fan, if you're not a strict comedy fan. But this is so different from the traditional things that he's done and the traditional comedies. And you even see Lonely Island classics pop up at the beginning.
Yeah, and you're like, this is going to be a pop star, never stopping or whatever. And it is not.
Exactly. It's so much more than that. And it's got real heart, and it's got real I don't know. It's got more of a refined plot, and it's almost the maturation of Andy Samberg coming through in this movie as an actor, and almost helping craft scenes and do everything. I mean, there's still him showing his ass in some scenes, but that'll happen. That's real fun. Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? I think in terms of, I think everyone who watched it won, because I don't think people would have gotten out to the movie theaters in numbers, but I think enough people watched it because it was on Hulu. I think Andy Samberg won because of what you just said, but also the director and screenwriter. So the director, Max Barbacow, and screenwriter Andy Sierra, they both worked on one feature film before this. On Rotten Tomatoes, it literally does not even have a page. There's no score. You can't click on it. It's called The Duke, and Andy Sierra also wrote on a TV show. So we can almost call it their feature debut, although technically it's not. I've never seen The Duke. I don't want to discredit it. You wrote and directed a feature film. That's something in its own. I'm not discrediting it, but I do think that as basically rookies, or let's call them sophomores in the feature film game, to have this unfortunate situation where everyone's at home and have it be directly released on Hulu and getting those viewers, I'm really excited to see what they have next for us, because it was a very well written and well directed movie.
I think COVID is the spark of, and I know this has been said, but I think COVID is the spark of people seeing these movies be straight to streaming releases and not taking them as a joke.
Yep.
Because the first times that it's happened, whether it be a Netflix movie or something, it's treated as less of a movie in my eyes. It's almost like a TV movie when they get straight to streaming releases.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is changing the whole. I mean, there's a movie coming out. I think it came out on Prime, The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
That's a legit ass big production movie.
Yep.
I haven't watched it yet, but I really want to.
No, me neither. Yeah.
But there's these movies now that they're legitimately saying, all right, let's just release them for streaming. Like, people are going to see them in the theaters. They're probably more likely to see them at home. They have the option to do both. Why make them wait 7 months? You don't need to buy the DVD in stores anymore. You're paying us already. Just let them see it. Yeah. And it's awesome. And for this movie specifically, if we want to get a little bit more into the weeds of this one, I like what the writers, like the director and the screenwriters and everybody did, because even Andy Samberg was saying that, you know, they know about Groundhog Day. They know about,
of course.
even Edge of Tomorrow and Happy Death Day came out before this. And those are two movies in completely different subgenres. Like the
Happy Death
Edge
Day.
of Tomorrow. Yeah, that one's kind of funny, but that one's like a horror kind of comedy movie.
Yep.
Edge of Tomorrow is more Tom Cruise just going crazy on some aliens. And they were acknowledging that those have all been time loop movies. They understand that, and they can't really differentiate themselves on that front. So what they did is, instead of like introducing the time loop like all of those other movies do, they kind of just from the jump accepted it. You know, there's no intro of how Andy Samberg got there or anything like that. You see him going through his day normally, and then we just find out miraculously there's this weird ass thing going on. So they didn't take the setup time that a Groundhog Day needed or a Happy Death Day needed, because
there's not
people
really
are
a
familiar
reveal.
with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that lends it well, because you don't have to spend time being like, oh, wait, this is him again. Oh, I get what's going on. Like, I think everyone who ended up watching this movie watched it as it was viewed, or it was given to them as, this is an Andy Samberg time loop movie. Like, this is what it is, so you don't need much setup. I think everyone knows going into it.
If you didn't know, you saw after he goes into the thing, after getting shot by Roy, shot in the back with the arrows, you see him wake up and his girlfriend's leg is up on the thing again. I mean, you see from that point on, like, it's a time loop.
Yeah.
Okay, we're settled.
Something
like,
I do want to run by you quick, and we're not in our, spoiler plot run through, but I don't think it gives much away. And I also think people probably watched the movie. That you were talking about, like, there's not setup, but we do see that the cave, like this orange aura. I was watching it, and I was like, I could see people being like, this orange thing, like, it could seem corny. Yeah. Like, that could have made it could have made it into a Happy Death Day kind of thing, like a weird sci-fi thing. And I was wondering, because I never got to that point where I was like, oh, this
Neither
is
did I.
I think what it is the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie being very grounded. And I think that they probably were bouncing that around, being like, do we actually want this? Or is it going to are we going to lose people with this? Yeah. And I think that the rest of the movie being what it was, we basically accepted the fact that they were doing that.
Well, there's one line from it that really just exemplifies that perfectly, which is they acknowledge the craziness enough where he's like going off about how much he loves her, and he's like, it's crazy that I would find somebody that I care so much about who's happened to be stuck with me in a time loop. And then he's like, but then it's the crazy that we're in a fucking time loop. So they acknowledge the fact that it's insane. At the start, the one thing
he was talking about the probabilities, and I was like, well, if we want to get into it, Andy Samberg, he would multiply both of those probabilities, so it would be even less. Just saying.
Wow, look at this guy, math guy. But I like the first time I saw it, I was even thinking when we saw J.K. Simmons and he's walking into that orange tunnel, because I didn't know it was going to be a time loop. So when I saw him and you just see his silhouette, I almost thought it was going to be like an alien. I thought he was going to be an alien or something like that. Yeah. But there wasn't this harsh disconnect for me where it's like orange thing, because you kind of understand it's like, I mean, it's a movie.
You know what you're
not throwing on. It's not like you see him flying through the universe at every moment, like when he's going back.
Yeah, I guess what kind of movie is what I was saying. Are we going to get a Happy Death Day, or are we going to get a rom-com?
But the thing that I like that they did well is that they didn't use the cave in every time that he went back. Yeah. So it was either you fall asleep, you die, or you go in the cave. Yeah. And the majority of the time, other than her going in there and them, the ending, was them either waking up or dying. Yeah. Which I think helped to, like, people forget about the cave a little bit as you go, because you're used to them just waking up or dying or killing themselves, waking up, dying.
There wasn't much cave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's just enough cave for it to be, just enough cave. We'll go with that. We're settled on just enough
just
cave.
a little bit of cave.
Just enough. I love the scene though where he's like, "I am the Antichrist."
Yeah, and the
he's
earthquake
Nah,
happens.
I'm kidding. Yeah. Like,
I mean, obviously we mentioned Andy Samberg, Kristen Milioti, and J.K. Simmons a lot, all who play Niles, Sarah, and Roy respectively. Just want to give a shout out, give some proper credit to Meredith Hagner, I believe. Hagner plays Misty.
Hagner.
That's Andy Samberg's girlfriend.
I will say, she is perfect for a time loop movie because she plays the idiot very well.
Yep.
Like she plays just like whenever she gets locked out of the room or anything. Come on, stop! You believe that she's just so
absolute nightmare to be
the
with.
worst.
The worst person that you could have stuck in a time loop to wake up to up to that. Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you after this because I do have a question, but we'll go forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we also have Camila Mendez as Tala. She's obviously such an important role in the movie, being the bride, and a few other things that we can talk about.
Yeah.
But I do think that she plays what she needs to really well. It's also, I think that she does great with it. And then obviously her husband, Tyler Hoechlin, is Abe. We'll talk a lot about him. Peter Gallagher.
Hoechlin?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I'm going to say whatever I said because I forget now. Peter Gallagher. Also, did not know that his name was Gallagher. Shout out you. I think he's my cousin. He
At
plays
some point.
Howard.
Yeah.
In
In your lineage
my
somewhere.
lineage. I'm sure we're from the same clan. Sarah's dad. And he is someone that you see him, you know him immediately because he's been in everything.
So him, I would categorize in the same way. Before Santa Clarita Diet and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I would put him in the same category as Timothy Oliphant. Because you see him everywhere, but you don't really know his name. Mm-hmm. And you're like, that guy is awesome, but what's his name? And now after those two things, I'm glad that Timothy is becoming a bigger name because he's awesome in what he does. But I would put Peter Gallagher in the same category.
I would agree. Yeah. Shout out Schmidt's dad and New Girl, too.
You see him everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just can't put my finger on
that guy. That's right. Yeah, shout out you, Peter Gallagher. And then, I mean, the fact I did not know that he was in this movie. I did not know that we were going to do it back to back. Sometimes we do, we lump some people in. We're like, oh, same actor. Connor O'Malley. We talked about him during I Think You Should Leave. He is fantastic in those sketches. He plays Randy in this movie. He's just a quirky, out there guy and plays a more subdued version in this movie. I guess, it's a movie.
At some moments. Others, he wishes he could be somewhere else.
He plays a comedic character, that's for sure.
His voice when he goes up there and he starts screaming is one of the top at the moment.
Yeah.
In Hollywood.
We got the Kudrow, we got the Tim Robinson yell, and then we have the Connor O'Malley freak out.
The Mega Malley freak out.
There we go. That's a good one. So let's mention one thing before we get into our plot run through, which would be nice and concise, but we do want to ask. I want to ask you, whose situation would you rather be stuck in? Would you want to be Andy Samberg or Kristen Milioti? I can speak. I promise. I can speak.
Neither of us are allowed to get our own personal Irvine, so we're ruling out Roy here. We gotta pick between. I'm saying neither of us
Irvine,
can pick.
Which is funny, by the way, for everyone. If you're from Southern California, you might be on the joke.
Kevin's stuck in the loop. He's already in his own personal Irvine. Yeah, that would be so sick.
Be awesome.
But I like your hat. But I think for me, I would rather wake up. Okay, so here's the issue for me. Is that Andy Samberg wakes up in a failed relationship where he's very aware that his girlfriend, who he came to the wedding with, is cheating on him actively and cheats on him that night.
Yep.
So that's a horrifying situation to be in. And he just wakes up and goes, ugh, has to look at her face.
Yep.
On the other hand, think an even worse situation is having slept with your sister's fiance on the night of their wedding.
Spoilers.
So I'm going to probably go with Andy Samberg's situation.
To me, it's not even a question. Like, it's not even a question. Andy Samberg, 100%. If I would have to live with the guilt over and over again, if I were to actually do that, and then I think at a certain point, you accept the fact that your girlfriend cheated on you. It's whatever. I don't think I would ever be able to accept the fact day after day that I slept with my brother's fiance the night before the wedding. I understand.
That's something you don't.
And Andy Samberg throws a line in there. He's like, I figured it out. No wonder she hates herself. Even he's like, oh, that's brutal to have to live that over and over again, which is another great plot device, I think, because we talk about it. You have Andy Samberg, girlfriend cheated on him. He doesn't like her. It stings to wake up to every day. But and then another thing, like, they want to be able to get out of this. Andy Samberg's been in it for so long. He's accepted it. Kristen Miliotti's just like, I need to get out. I need to get out.
Well, because that's like the worst, waking up to the worst situation she's ever been in for eternity.
Yeah.
And that's what drove her to just be like, I want to get out of here, which was what you were saying. Andy Samberg's kind of embraced it. And now all he has to do is say, that's a nice leg. And he wakes up and ends up doing some stuff that morning.
Action.
Yeah. But his situation is definitely not great either. Like being in a house with people who don't even know your name, and then you're just Misty's boyfriend forever, waking up. I mean, there's also the thing of like, it's not your family at that wedding, so you can do whatever you want, which does help because he's just that guy. Like, he just shows up, can do literally anything.
But then again, I feel because nothing matters, you know that the day is going to end anyways. Like, it's just going to happen again. I feel like she could do that as well, even if it's her family. And she did.
Yeah, I feel like there's less opportunity for her to have more fun. I think that he can have more fun than she can at that wedding.
Yeah. So, I think that we talked about it.
I think we're locked in there.
Yeah. So we're just going to break it into a few acts. We're going to talk the setup basically to getting Kristen Milioti in the loop. I think that we already talked about literally what we wanted to talk about during this, which is J.K. Simmons and then the cave. I think that we already spoiled that. It was such a good reveal when he's just like, you think they're about to have sex, and then something's gonna happen, you just don't know what. And the comedic value of an arrow going into someone's back is just,
and he's not even shocked. He's not like, what?
I thought I smelled you.
Come on. Yeah. The first time watching, you're just like, what the fuck is happening right now?
What is happening?
You're in the same boat as Sarah. You're just like, what is going on in this? What?
Yeah. You're so thrown off, and you don't know it's J.K. Simmons yet, right? Or do you see the reveal that it is him? That's right.
You only hear his voice when he's walking into the tunnel. So you can tell that it's him, but he only has one sentence, and then he walks into the tunnel. And I think it's like, I will find you. I'll always find you. And then he walks in.
Yep. Did you ever watch the HBO series, not the movie, Watchmen? When that came out?
No, I did not. No.
Is he in that? Everyone. No. Everyone needs to watch that. It's so good. This won't give anything away. There is a game master that they call them. Okay. And it's kind of that same situation. That's what I thought we might have been in. I thought maybe he was trying to do something to keep him in this loop, but then you just figure out it's J.K. Simmons.
Just coming down from Irvine.
Yeah.
Having himself a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that she gets into it, realizes what happens, and obviously freaks out.
Yeah, I do like that when she finds out. So then after he crawls in, is like, don't come in here with me.
Yeah.
He's shot up with arrows. She goes in. They wake up the next day. So you see from his perspective, he doesn't know that she went in.
Right.
He just wakes up. He's in the pool, says the same stuff every day to the dude who swims up to him.
Yeah.
Then I love that we see her come out, start throwing stuff, and then we see it from her perspective, where she wakes up and goes, "What's going on?" So that was something different that this movie did, where it got to show the reaction of somebody who's been in this time loop and is used to it, and then somebody who is new to it,
Like
and
the
them
first
interacting
time
with
them
each other.
realizing.
Yeah, literally the first day of this happening.
I love that too. Also, you know what's something I thought was interesting that I realized is from his perspective, it's so much more chaotic when she comes up and confronts him and starts throwing beers at him. But something I realized is, like, I don't even know, during Andy Samberg's version of it, does she say, "I'm not going to hurt you"? Because
no, he jumps off the thing too early. He doesn't even hear that.
She's like, "I'm not going to hurt you." Like, it seems so much more calm, and then she's just trying to, like, get his attention as opposed to, like, pelt him with beer cans, which, by the way, I could not think of anything worse to be thrown at, like, while you're laying on a like float than beer cans, full beer cans.
It reminded me of that scene from Saving Private Ryan where the bullets are coming through the water, except this one you just see the beer cans coming down at him. Just coming at him in the water. But that was a crazy scene. And then we see her start to go through, like, how do I get out of this? What do I do? What if I just wake up?
Yeah.
He's like, I've been through it all. Like, and even in the car, he just gets ready, undoes his seatbelt. He's like, I've done this before. I've done this a million times. We know.
We can
tried
skip
to
this
stay
step.
up. Yeah. But I mean, there's no way anybody's going to skip that step.
No.
Like, even if I'm in that situation, I'm not believing
I'm not gonna
him.
listen to this
I'm not,
guy. Yeah.
He's like, I made it down to the Ecuadorian border on some crack one time.
Some crystal. He's like, they detained me because I was acting a little odd.
Which is warranted.
Yeah. So we have this thing of Kristen Milioti, Sarah. Let's use some character names. Sarah is freaking out. Of course, we get to see someone's reaction to that, and then we get to see someone so far down the line trying to tell her, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. You can't break out of it. I've tried everything, and obviously she's going to try a lot. But at some point, she starts to get used to it. She accepts it, and then they start having some fun. Then they start having some fun together and start messing around with people at that bar, which, by the way, is probably very accurate. You know, if you've been listening for a while now, maybe it was right around the Superbad episode. I think Easy A is when we recorded when my fiance, we were in Joshua Tree. My fiance fell and shattered her kneecap. So we were in Joshua Tree for like a little bit, but I know enough of it out there, especially because we have to take her to a Joshua Tree hospital and stuff. But that bar, I feel like, is probably pretty close to true form in Palm Springs.
I could see that being the case.
Like an outskirts one, though, a local one, because obviously there's a lot of tourist stuff going on around there, but I could see out there it's kind of, it's a desert.
Yeah, exactly. And you can tell how long Andy Samberg's been in this situation because he knows everything about everyone in that bar. Darla. And he's just like, she's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And he's just, because he's been in this long enough to know everything about everyone at the wedding, everything that happens at the wedding, every dance that somebody does at the wedding, because that's how he first introduces himself to Sarah.
Actually, I just thought that
dance scene.
How smooth
he memorized
was that?
it.
Yeah, it was so awesome. Watching that, I was like, dang, this guy knows what he's doing.
Clean, and he catches something that's about, I mean, it's just, he's got it all down. You could tell he's done that before, but that's especially when, like, oh, have we slept together? No, I don't think so. Yeah. Oh, you don't come up that smooth if you've never done it before,
that's
man.
Right.
There's 0% chance.
1,000th time doing it.
Yeah, just every single dance leading up to exactly where she would be. Just, I mean, the smoothness of that. And that brings about the question of how long has he been in there?
Yeah.
And how long has he been stuck? Because there's people have talked about it and they've come to the conclusion, this very, very exact conclusion, that the sweet spot of him being in this time loop is somewhere between 40 years and 40 million years.
Which, I think that's people taking some liberties of being like, we're going to say this. That's saying nothing, by the way. That is saying absolutely nothing. Like, I don't know. It could be somewhere in this, like 39, that's like when
people guess how many things are in the jar, and somebody always goes like, at least 3. And it's like, we know.
There you go, Gary. Gary from accounting rips with that joke, by the way.
Get back to your desk, Gary,
At least a couple.
Wow, that's his one for the year, guys.
There he
Say,
goes.
Bye, Gary. Just
Reminds me
he's
of
gone.
that sketch in I Think You Should Leave with the new printer, and she starts
Santa's
freaking
coming
out.
early this year. Santa, hey, what did we do? That's a naughty man. He dropped it off. Really? I mean, I won't go back into that. That's last week. But I mean,
Yeah.
But the one thing that got me for him being there for X amount of time is when he saw the millionth birthday. When they're doing the like montage, when they're kind of falling for each other.
Nice slow-mo
She
confetti
does
drop of her smiling.
Yeah. The millionth birthday, he's not even phased. He's not phased, taken back. He's just like, has it been that long?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. She asked how what his job was before all that happened, and he said he couldn't even remember. And she's like, no, I mean, come on, of course you can. And he couldn't. So you have to believe it was a lot of time. Like, a lot of time has passed. We don't know how old he is. He kind of, in a way, even though he plays this kind of goofy character, he's not wise, but in terms of this time loop thing, you can tell he's been there long enough because of the point of acceptance he's at. I guess that's almost like a wise way. If you follow like this common archetype of a story, there's always this one person that's supposed to be the guiding factor, which I think probably is J.K. Simmons, but I think Andy Samberg plays a little bit of that I think Niles plays a little bit of that with Sarah, quite obviously, just to help guide her through. And then we get this nice, like you said, montage of them accepting, and then we get our true rom-com story developing there because they're having so much fun together. There's zero consequence to anything that they do. And then, as you mentioned before, something comes up. He told her that they never had sex before, and he's like, this is like the 1,000th time we hooked up. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But he really feels remorse, and this is the first time that we see Niles throughout the whole movie show any true emotion, or any true reverence for whatever he does or says. And obviously, also, you kind of see that he does still have a moral code, because when she starts freaking out, he's like, we don't do things that hurt people. That's not fun. Trust me, I've done it before. You see how he kind of
still have to deal with that.
Yeah, he's like, we have to deal with that, which I think is also a nice. I like those kind of deep thinking things. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Then he stabs someone with a fork, but it's that was crazy.
Needed to happen.
But but I mean, there's that. You can be in there for so long and realize, like, of course, everything's gonna reset, but you don't reset. Your memory is still reset.
Yep.
So if you do all this crazy shit, you're still going to know that you did it all. Mm-hmm. I mean, doing it I think there's a difference of Roy doing it to Andy, who he's so pissed off at and knows he's just going to regenerate, because it's not like, I mean, he's not doing it maliciously in the sense that it's for no reason. I think it's because of something that happened and he knows he can just reset the next day. Versus doing something for absolutely no reason and going off on a violent streak, and then waking up the next day and being like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Why? What's the point?
I mean, we could talk about Roy in a little here and his kind of motives, because to get there, something like what you were saying, something important to note is that even though she knew it, that their memories don't reset. That's really important for this next plot point, because that's when we just think Sarah leaves. Niles is dealing with his depression. He realizes he loves her. He's dealing with all of that. Then she comes back, or actually, during that, we'll talk before. We'll talk about J.K. Simmons. And we get our Irvine scene, because he's just at the bottom, and he references something that J.K. Simmons, Roy, has said to him before, that there is a bottom. He's like, I've reached my bottom. His neighbors are like freaking out. His kids are unsure about him, rightfully so. And then, we get that classic, that Irvine banter, which, I eat up.
Well, yeah. I think before that, we need to talk a little bit about the Roy origin story.
Yeah, that's. I think we can, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
The insanity of how. So Andy Samberg in the loop met Roy. He's there. He's like somebody's cousin, and he goes, Like he's talking the bartender's ear off because it was early on,
Yep,
and Andy
early
Samberg's
on.
like, not everything's meaningless, blah blah blah. And J.K. Simmons starts talking to him and basically is like, we'll take actually 2 shots of bourbon.
Yeah.
And was just intrigued by it. And then he asks him, like, do you want to party? And it points to his nose. And
Good radio.
Andy Samberg goes to the... I'm showing the people
Yeah.
and
If you're
letting
watching,
them know.
yeah, if you're
But he
just
goes
listening,
to
that's
that-
good radio.
He goes to that Australian guy, steals the coke out of it, and they just have quite like an insane night in
Yeah.
the bathtub.
Was it
together.
just blow, you think? Or was
No,
I
definitely
was going to
not.
say, there's something else in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene of Andy Samberg and J.K. Simmons just like staring at each other, like like
in the
freaking out in the bathtub is so funny. So we get to see why J.K. Simmons, sorry,
He's like,
Roy,
I don't want
but-
this night to end. And Andy Samberg's just like, it can't.
He's
Just takes him to the tunnel.
Yeah,
Just so
he's
messed up.
So messed up that he has remorse for it. He sees him start to go in, and he's like, "Wait, no," dies, or maybe even dies. Maybe he overdosed.
I think he dies there. Yeah, he's
maybe
like, too
he
much.
slept or
Don't
died.
go in.
Yeah. So when
Either way, he just wakes up.
Right. When he's in Irvine, when we have that meeting, that's when he says, like, hey, I had a lot of hate for you. I'm never going to be able to see my children grow up. I'm never going to be able to see. And then he also came to a point of acceptance because he calls it his Irvine. You know, his wife's in her prime and his kids are
Prime
great.
of her womanhood.
Yeah. And so he has this point of acceptance that he reached after being in the hospital, but there's a lot of hate in his heart. And that's what another thing that you think about, like with this time loop, it adds another element if someone has a family. And then there's just that other layer on it. So it kind of justifies why J.K. Simmons is turned into a sadist. There are important things that a parent wants to do, and when Andy Samberg takes that away from you, and you add on the fact that you're stuck in a time loop, I understand him being a little pissed.
And he's like, I've come to terms with it. Look, my boy's watering pile of shit over there. Just watering dog shit.
Yeah.
It's like, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
He just comes to terms with it. He's happy. He's just making some ahi tuna, which did look delicious,
incredible.
By the way. I mean,
him and his wife have to have a good bit of money because a house like
Yeah.
that in Irvine, that's running you to
do you think that
1.5, 2 mil.
he's gotten exceptionally better at cooking throughout this entire process?
What
Like,
else
that
are you
tuna
gonna do?
is
You're just gonna have to
probably
get sick
insane.
at cooking. Yeah.
Well, it was archery and cooking.
Yeah,
for
it's
him,
killing
I guess. Yeah,
and dad
yeah.
stuff. That man
Killing
can
and
work a
cooking,
grill
yeah.
and he can work a bow and arrow through Andy Samberg's heart.
He's essentially the show Meat Eater, except it's just 2 separate things now versus 1.
Joe Rogan loves this guy.
Yeah. So, what do you hunt? Mostly Andy Samberg.
Oh, so does he like regenerate or something?
Wow.
Yeah.
Down in Texas, we actually have African antelopes down here. Yeah, that you could hunt full year round. Oh, really? I prefer this one human.
Yeah. So you're stuck in a time loop. That's so weird.
How did you get here? Are we gonna do this tomorrow again?
So obviously we have that acceptance. Shoots him in an arrow in a recycling bin.
Yeah.
Wakes up, and then at some point we keep having some depression, and then Sarah is there at his bed when he wakes up one day, saying, "Hey, I have a way to figure this out."
Yeah. He's like, hey, what's
Niles
going on?
does not want to leave. And
Niles.
she's like, come on, this is ridiculous. But just decides to do it herself. You know, she teaches herself quantum physics. She teaches herself the way to actually break it. Smart cookie, Sarah is. And I'm really sorry that to everyone on the podcast that I just said smart cookie. I want to just take that back.
I'm not letting him apologize
smart
for that.
person.
It will live
Smart
in
person.
history forever.
And
smart cookie.
Smart
eh?
cookie. She's a smart cookie. She figures it out, and then at some point, you know, he doesn't accept it. And then he ends up realizing that whatever happens, he just wants to be with her and he realizes that because he's at the bar, he's with Darla. And he ends up getting his ass kicked, but takes the bartender's keys. Just driving back, stops at the guy with the shooting
shooting range guy.
The guy who's has the target of the guy who ran off with his wife, I think, or his
your
mother's
son.
child.
Yep.
Says he's a son, gets back. I just want to point out about that whole setup was just to say it is so damn funny that we thought he was probably in a car and he rolls up on the back of his little like moped motorcycle kind of thing all wrapped around the guy. Like for whatever
So
reason
good.
I watched that and I just cracked up. That like the little stuff in there to come in on this bike just cracked me up.
That was really good. I love that. I love that whole thing where he's in such a rush there and he's like, 25 years ago, you were in a bathroom and you met this woman and I'm your son. He's like, I always had a suspicion.
Yeah, that guy ripped. That guy was awesome.
That guy was, he was dope. Saved the day. But I mean, one thing I do have to ask about, now they make up. Andy Samberg has the longest sentence in human history to kind of make up to her.
Yeah.
Where
it was a good one.
he was using and then the emphatic period at the end. She
Just
was
an
like,
exclamation
emphatic
point.
period is basically just an exclamation point.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't want to seem too eager. But I think now my one thing is after they get out, so they do get out, it works. They blow themselves up. They get out of this loop. Is she now like the smartest physicist in the world? Is that like the case right now?
Yeah. She literally, she will be able to solve anything now. Anything.
Yeah,
she had a lot of time. Maybe we don't know how many days passed.
It's more than theoretical physics at this point because
That's
she legitimately did it.
practical
That's
quantum
legitimate
physics. Yeah.
Which is insane. So I think she's top tier, like should win a Nobel Prize, but nobody's gonna believe her because there's no proof. So
unless people really believe her
sucks.
equations and stuff, that would blow though if you couldn't get the credit.
Wait, so does that mean that if you were to go to the desert after that too, would that cave still be there?
Yes, it would be there. I have no backing. I just could not think of if I was going to say yes or no, so I said yes confidently, and that's what we're rolling with.
We're rolling. Could you then do this for any day you want? Like if you're having a dope day, you could just rip it to the cave after.
And they'd be like, at some point when I want to stop
I'll just
it,
blow myself up.
Yeah.
That would honestly.
No, you can't
also,
do that. No, you can't do that because like the implication.
Because of the implication. Question for you. Is Nana in a time loop?
Yes. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, she's like a little Easter egg. Like, hey, I know what's going on. I like to think that J.K. Simmons is going to realize somehow and bring Nana with her because I loved the ending when you realize that Andy Samberg or Niles does not recognize Roy and Roy's like, okay, let's go. It's
because he's in a tux and not the Hawaiian shirt and shorts.
He's like, I got that crazy message from your girlfriend. Do you think it'd actually work? And then you realize if he wants to, he can break out of his Irvine and he can watch his daughter and son grow up. So
that's a great option for him, I think. I think that's the optimal thing. He just needs to find some C4 and just go to the cave.
I think he would. I like to think that Roy ended up doing it.
I think so too. Yeah. And I like that they threw that in there after the credits a little bit because I was wondering, what about Roy?
Exactly.
Like when it abruptly ended, I was wondering, what about Roy?
A little bit of credits. If you stuck through, we are conditioned now because of the MCU to sit through credits just to see.
Yep.
Just to see.
Exactly. You just gotta, and it was short enough after where even if you were in a theater, you would be walking down the steps and then something pops up and then you're like, whoa, what's
the turn
this?
back? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to move on to our favorites here? We can,
yes,
I'll let you take it first because
also
you have the first one.
Last thing, I love that the family showed up and was just like, "What the fuck are you doing in our pool?" And they're like, I guess they get home today."
Yeah.
And he has a dog, and he's like, "I should probably pick up my dog."
Oh, that's right. He didn't tell her about that.
Didn't go to see his dog once during the whole thing. I don't know how far away he lives though, so that's not on him. So my favorite character is going to be Roy, and that's for obvious reasons. I love J.K. Simmons and anything he does. He's a great Omni-Man now in Invincible, and he's incredible in this. And I think he's perfect. Like he can play the absolute killer and at the same time play the great father that you see in Irvine.
And then maybe like a
Duality
mix
of
of
man.
both in Whiplash.
Exactly.
Fantastic
yeah.
movie.
Absolutely. I just watched that recently. It's insanely good.
Yeah,
He's a
it's
sociopath, but
insane. It's an
yeah.
insanely good movie. Mine's gonna be. I'm gonna take a little from Winnie because I like Connor O'Malley, but I feel like he's more of Winnie's guy. I'm gonna take Randy just for. I'll save it because there are a few lines that are gonna come up out of him. We'll move on to
We can
scenes.
swap if you want.
Nah, that's all right.
Mine is gonna be the hunting montage where you find out that Roy has been hunting him down
Yeah.
for like years now.
Did you see the? Did you
Just
see all the different ways
different
he's like
ways,
waterboarded him? Oof.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take another montage. I'm taking the love montage of Sarah and Niles. Them just, I guess it could be listed as like Sarah's acceptance montage because that's when we get the slow motion confetti, all that. They do that weird stuff in the bar with like jean jackets and red bandanas. It's just fun. It's just a fun scene, and some
That
of
was
it's pretty
just
funny in there.
That was hey, we're reminding you that this is a rom-com scene.
This is the meat of the rom-com.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, remember why you're here.
Yeah.
My first line is from J.K. Simmons Roy, and it's Andy Samberg just going to him like, "I like your hat," and he goes, "Of course you do."
It's just so good. I
know,
love
it's
that.
Perfect.
So mine, I said I was going to talk about it. Connor O'Malley's line. It's when Andy Samberg is. I think it's when he's super
explaining
depressed.
Something about Sarah to the whole family.
It's his depression stage, and he's just like, "This is what she does. She's not here," and he's freaking out. And then, like a few people are just sitting there, including Connor O'Malley. He goes, "I don't feel safe with him. I honestly think we should call the cops. I don't feel safe anymore."
He was very about his safety in this movie.
I know.
He was always so on edge about everything.
Yeah.
Because my next one is when there's an earthquake during one of the wedding services, and Connor O'Malley just goes, I should never have left the Great Lakes. This place is a nightmare.
I also love how like they identify him as a Great Lakes person because he
Yeah,
seems like one throughout this movie.
He's just not used to the heat or the earthquakes or anything.
Yeah.
Just remotely out of like, just get him back to the Great Lakes. He's very off of his game.
He's a Great Lakes boy. He's a Great Lakes boy.
He's a Great Lakes guy. Great Lakes guy. Connor O'Malley, noted Great Lakes guy.
Yep. My next one is going to be Sarah. She is talking to the bartender, and she's like, "Come on, throw me a bone. This isn't a day for moderation." She's pouring her wine, and the bartender goes, "This isn't good wine." She just goes, "I don't care." I like that. This isn't good wine.
This isn't good wine. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Just fills it up.
Pour me up.
All the way. Just that one line from that bartender was great throughout. She was a very slept on character.
Pretty important character. Not important, but she's a pretty mainstay character, I would say.
She was there for it all.
Yeah.
Privy to all those conversations.
Yeah.
But
hand job giver too. Good for her.
yeah, apparently. Yeah, she hit somebody with her car and he can't
right.
walk anymore.
Yeah. So we'll move on to Inexclusive exclusives here. I'll start out. We were talking about Hulu and how it went directly to Hulu. It actually broke the record for the most viewed Hulu release in its first weekend on the streaming service. And it holds the record for the biggest sale of a film at the Sundance Film Festival, $17.5 million, beating the previous record of 69 cents.
That's nice.
Haha, yeah.
It's by 69 cents.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah.
How do you...
yeah.
I don't know.
What were you going to say?
I don't know how you do it by 69 cents exactly. That's coincidence.
Maybe it was the Blue Mountain State movie got sold at Sundance.
Oh, no, it beat it by 69 cents.
By
the next
69
best movie
cents.
didn't make 69
Oh,
cents.
okay, that's what I was just making sure. I was like, maybe they don't normally. Well, I thought maybe they normally didn't sell movies. That was just really dumb. I read the fact wrong. Thanks for calling that out. Wow.
For 69 cents, yeah.
I thought it was a weird thing that maybe sales didn't go on and they sold the movie for whatever reason.
Sundance brought in a whopping total of 69 cents this year.
70 cents. They sold another movie for 1 cent.
Yeah, exactly.
So a little Easter egg here is that circles were placed throughout the entire film to symbolize the loop. Obviously a loop circle holds the logic.
Wow.
So like Niall's boxers, they have polka dots. Sarah's bra has circles. They use water donuts in one scene, and the macrame hanging at the wedding reception is also circular. I mean, that is a very California wedding thing, but the circles placed throughout are too many
All
for
the
it to be a
circles.
coincidence.
Yeah, and it's just they're stuck in a loop, time loop circles. They're just throwing it in there for your enjoyment and see if you pick up on it.
Easter eggs.
So Andy, exactly. And you might be wondering about the ending and how they came to this conclusion about them getting out, kind of just seeing that it's the next day and how we would find that out. So Andy Samberg actually said that the endings were written and shot, there were a few of them. So there were a few different endings that they could have used.
Yeah.
And they held private family and friends screenings of the different versions to see what people liked, what people didn't like. And he said that the ending, it might not be perfect, but everyone liked it. So that's the one that they ended up going
This is one, with a premise like this, that is the ultimate thing. How do we end this movie? Because something drastic has to happen.
I want to see the other endings. I want to see what else
awesome.
they thought of.
Yeah,
but
I think cool. It definitely ended in the way that everyone would like. It doesn't challenge you as a viewer.
Yeah.
It's a nice ending. It's exactly what we wanted, which that's why you said it's not perfect. It's not like cinematic masterpiece of an ending, but it's what we wanted, and that's why I
didn't want an Inception ending where I'm like, is it the next day? I don't know. Yeah, I wanted that ending, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
And in the scene we were talking about before, where he's just flawlessly dancing, like exactly the same as these other people, and he's just moving across the dance floor. So that was captured in a total of 5 takes. Which is impressive because it looks so seamless. And it's really a lot is going on. So 5 takes seems like a very minimal amount to capture all of that.
Yeah. Honestly, I figured that would have taken much more. Andy Samberg's he's a smooth operator. He's a smart cookie,
exactly.
Is what he is.
He knows he's smart. Jesus Christ.
So another Easter egg here. If you are Hindu and you're familiar with Sanskrit, you might have picked up on it. But Niles is drinking an Akupara beer, and in Sanskrit, it means unlimited and unbounded. In Hinduism, it's the name of a tortoise described as the one who is without death. So in movies, all of these things, they're all very calculated. It just seems like it could be a random brand name, but most of the time it never is, and I kind of like that they have all this, thrown in there. A lot of Easter eggs.
It's nice that they actually go fully into the topic and actually did their research. I mean, if you're going to do something like this and you have these little references and everything like that, I appreciate the research and everything that goes into it.
Yeah, totally agree. And so just another quick one, another Easter egg. We mentioned Whiplash, and in that montage scene where he's torturing him, at one point, J.K. Simmons appears as Fletcher from Whiplash, and just mainly because he's wearing a black shirt and has a whip in one of his hands.
Well, he's also the biggest psychopath I've ever seen, bigger than Roy. So, if Fletcher's there, you're going to get destroyed. He would probably tie you up, give you meth until you stay awake for 6 days and just keep you going. Yeah. But, I would be more scared of him than Roy, 1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
But the scene where Niles and Roy complimented each other, one of my favorite lines, where it's the "of course you do" line, was an improvisation. So that was improvised between Andy Samberg and J.K. Simmons, working off each other. "I like your hat, of course you do." That was just not in the script, just right then and there.
It's J.K. Simmons' confidence is what that is.
Yeah. I feel like he doesn't even need to be funny. He's just confident as shit, and anything he says, it's like, that was gold.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Yeah. Why didn't he write the script? But, and then another little thing about the research that went into this movie. So when they're doing the research on how to get out of the time loop, when Sarah's contacting these people, she contacts a physicist named Clifford Johnson, and Johnson is an actual scientist who helped work on the movie, and he helped the filmmakers come up with an original time loop premise for this story, which is really, really cool that they actually brought in a physicist.
You know what's awesome about that is it's based in actual quantum physics, apparently.
Yeah.
But you don't actually have to get anything like put to you on a platter. Like, this is what actually happened. They breeze by that completely.
They explain zero.
Yeah,
of
she
it.
has books out, and I was like, she put one book down that said quarks and something. Like, it was too fast to even see, and I was like, that's literally there for slightly above average intelligence people to be like, oh, quarks, I know what that is. Like, she's doing science.
Wow.
Like, no way.
She's doing real science here.
Yeah, it is cool that they got Clifford Johnson to help out with the movie, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, he helped them with the time loop. They're in a time loop, and there are a lot of movies like that. I don't think that this movie actually had a scientist on it, but there's something that there's a parallel with the Back to the Future universe. So when Andy Samberg's at the bottom, he asks Darla asks the barkeep how much Niles has had to drink because he's kind of talking crazy. And he says he's still on his first. And actually, he didn't even touch it. Like, that was his first drink that he poured him. And in Back to the Future Part 3, the same exchange takes place between Marty, the barkeep, and Doc. And then until Doc actually ends up pushing it back, and Niles does the same thing. So it's a little nod to one of the best time travel movies, Back to the Future, not part 3. I'm willing to concede that.
I would
part
say
1,
series,
for
time
sure.
travel
Yeah,
series.
exactly.
Yeah.
The original Back to the Future, all timer. Part 2, very good. Part 3 is what it is. It is what it is.
It's there. It's definitely
It's
there.
a movie.
It's like The Hangover 2 and 3.
Yeah.
They're there. They for
sure
sure
are.
exist. They're definitely movies.
So something else, and I apologize if I am butchering his name, but Tyler Hoechlin, I think I said. Hoechlin.
Let's just say Hoechlin.
Yeah, Tyler Hoechlin.
Yeah.
Sounds like TJ Hawkinson. Shout out you, football.
I don't know that it does, but we'll go with that.
I think I'm ready for football.
know.
So
Yeah, I am too.
Tyler Hoechlin, maybe. So Abe in the movie, they actually had to dull down and color correct his abs because they were too distracting, which is ridiculous to think about. Could you imagine being that jacked in the head? We're gonna have to make you look a little worse. I mean, granted, once I reach the end of my Kumail phase, as we're all aware I'm on, I'm gonna get there.
Yes.
And when I start featuring, when I start acting in feature film movies as an ab, my steps are up.
Your steps are up. Kevin got a dog. Steps are up.
Steps are up.
But that was in the scene when he walks out of the shower and we see for the first time that Sarah slept with him. And they were saying it's so distracting because it was supposed to be about her, but it became about his abs in the scene.
He's just this naked guy, ridiculously good looking, and everyone's just like, wait, so she slept with
We're supposed to...
him?
We're
Sorry.
supposed to be upset right now?
Yeah.
When people are watching, the family and friends screening was probably like, what happened? I missed the plot.
They're like, so what happened in that one?
Oh, that scene was integral to the plot? Oh, I didn't even
I
notice.
get it.
Yeah, like, whoa, what? Just maybe color correct there a little bit.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have asked about the ending, and Andy Samberg says that he kind of chooses to believe that Niles and Sarah have their, together forever kind of ending. But it was revised a few times, as we said before, from being two just kind of cookie cutter classic, they're together. That's why there were the dinosaurs at the end, because it's intentionally looking to leave us going, what if? Are we sure? Yeah. What's going on here? That kind of thing. And I love the dinosaurs because the dinosaurs were we don't know that they both saw them. They were both on mushrooms.
Yeah.
And Andy was like, are you seeing this? They were both looking at each other. And we don't know, number one, if they were real, or number two, if they saw the same thing, or number three, if they were just hallucinating the same dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the end, right?
The end and when they're tripping.
Yeah.
So the dinosaurs come up twice.
That's what I'm saying. In the end, I think what they're doing there is are they on mushrooms right now again and they're just hanging out, or did they get themselves in it? Because obviously we know it's the next day that they don't come home during the day. So maybe they're in an alternate time universe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe they don't get back to the actual regular timeline. Maybe I'm also just watching Loki too much. But
I think you are.
That the dinosaurs. Well, no, I think the dinosaurs in the end, but it being November 10th, I think that might mean that they're in an alternate universe now.
Yeah.
But
or the dinosaurs a million billion years ago walked into the cave, and they're in the time loop too. because that could not be unlikely. I feel like dinosaurs could walk into there.
Yeah, maybe.
Either way, cool that they had dinosaurs. I fuck with dinosaurs.
Shout out dinosaurs.
So this is the last thing that we'll say. So they initially shot the scenes where Niles was running naked through the desert with Andy Samberg's stunt double. And then they shot it again with Andy Samberg himself, just in case, you know, from behind you could obviously tell it wasn't him, which I don't know how many people can, because that's definitely an interesting thing to take notice of. But they used Andy Samberg's, and it's just because Andy Samberg said his butt was funnier.
That's a confident man, right?
Yeah, it is. Hey, you got to do
Show
what you
my
got to
butt.
do.
It's funny. I don't think we don't have any this week in comedy. Normally we like to do a little segment after.
I think You Should Leave season 2 comes out in a day, I believe.
Yes,
or by the
I
time this drops, it will have came out.
Yes, not during our recording though. So get out and watch. I think You Should Leave season 2. Gonna be awesome. Black Widow comes out July 9th. Get it out in theaters to see that one. That's gonna be a great theater experience as long as you're comfortable. Netflix just released a movie with, I think, Eliza Schrager, I think is her name. It's a rom-com about her life. I did not get to check it out yet, but I might check that out because she is a very funny comedian in the LA scene. I think she's in the LA scene. And it seems like it could be a pretty good candidate to get out there and watch a rom-com. So it should be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in. Why not? We just watched one. I'm on a little rom-com kick right now.
Yeah.
Let's get another one going.
Yeah. Leading up to my wedding, we'll be doing some wedding related stuff here in the next few weeks because very soon I will be a married man, and we will be doing one movie before and then the next one we might. No, I'm saying between. But then we will probably be doing My Big Fat Greek Wedding for those My Big Fat Greek Wedding fans out there. We will have the fitness instructor on, I believe. We'll see what we can do about that. Until then, I'm Kevin.
I'm Woody.
We'll see you at the next episode.
Of course you do.